When pets come between partners, this is the last question of the day. And this is not a question, but it used a question word. And I do think there is a thing of inquiry
this
here.
is a thing.
So two humans date and they can break up and there's a pet, or two humans date and the pet maybe prefers one or the other and it creates fighting in the home. Let's talk about this. This is kind of a sad question to end on, but it's important stuff.
Yeah, I mean, when pets come between partners, I think there's generally, when that happens, is because one person was more of an animal lover than the other, or the pet was more one person's than the other. And, that could become a conflict for sure. I think that if you call yourself an animal lover, you really have to know what that statement means. You really have to know that it takes a whole lot of patience, like that not all animals are the same, not all dogs, even the same breed, even the same, species, breed, age, got it from the same person, from the same mother, or even all the puppies aren't going to be the same. And you really have to know that and understand that to say that you love animals. So then you come to be with someone else who has an animal. You have to be super honest with that person. Like, oh, I like my dog. I like my cat. Not so sure how I feel about others. But if the pet is the reason why a couple doesn't work out, I can understand that. I think that you probably should want to be with someone that loves your pet like you love your pet. And that I think that, like in my situation, I married my wife when she already had a dog, but I had to make that dog my dog. That dog is now my dog too. It's not just her dog. It's my dog. It's our dog. And if I didn't have that mentality, I think it would be really hard to just live with somebody else's pet.
I think it's a great point. I try not to get too terribly personal on the Pet Peeves podcast, but I'll share this anecdote because it does assist with this a little bit. So there was about 4 years ago, Kate and I weren't doing so hot. And so there just came a time when I needed to get my own apartment. And it's cool. It's healthy. We're married now. So we, are quite victorious. It's a happy ending to this story. But during that time, Kate adopted a cat. And we hadn't owned a pet previously because I talked previously on the Pet Peeves podcast. We just continued to not own a pet out of respect for how much responsibility it takes. Right. But a cat found her, basically the cat adopted her and climbed into her window. And then when we immediately started dating, even though I got this separate apartment, trying to patch things up and work on things. And I met this cat, and that was something. She felt a close bond with this cat. And she told me, after the fact, she's like, yeah, if you weren't going to get along with that cat, I didn't think it was going to work. And it's not that she was trying to choose the cat over me. It says a lot about a person if they can't get along with your cat. And thank goodness, there's another layer to this story, and that is that I had a pretty bad cat allergy. And she, bless her heart, Kate did everything she could. She got an air filter, she got extra vacuum cleaners. We just practiced a lot of cleanliness. And Ricardo, who we've mentioned a couple times, the beta fish breeder and mutual friend of ours, he encouraged me. He's like, have patience. You will. I was really allergic to cats, and after 6 months, it really comes along. You notice it after 3, but after 6, it really comes along. And I know with some people, they have cat allergies and they can't get over them. Their body can't adapt. But for some people, like myself, like Ricardo, we were able to kind of adapt to our cat allergy, and now I have nothing. Like I can pet Salty and rub my eyes, and it's nothing. But at first, it was awful.
Interesting.
It was really bad. So.
I mean, those are, it's really hard to predict, right? Say you don't know you have a cat allergy and you move in with somebody who has a cat and suddenly you're having these allergic reactions. Maybe you take some Benadryl and it's fine. Maybe it's not fine. Are you going to stay in that relationship? Are you going to try to get that person to get rid of their pet? Those are tough situations, and it happens all the time. I would definitely, not move in with somebody if I don't know about their pet, if I'm not close with their pet, if I don't like pets, or if I have any kind of hesitation.
Yeah.
But most people, like you said, will get over an allergy in my experience. And if you really love dogs and cats, the allergy is really not going to hold you back. You're going to figure it out, one way or the other, get through it. But if you're somebody that you're just looking for excuses to not be with your significant other, the pet is a pretty good one, because that's a really long commitment, 15 years most of the time. So I think that relationships probably that aren't working because of the pet have other issues, underlying issues. Because, if you're getting into the relationship with somebody and you really, really love this person, you really want to be with this person, nothing should really get in the way with that. It's like if they have kids, you gotta, I'm not getting along with my significant other's kids. Well, you gotta make yourself get along with them. You gotta go the extra mile. You gotta figure it out. You gotta do some research, maybe get some counseling, whatever it takes. You don't just give up. And if you're willing to give up, then that relationship was doomed anyway. That's my opinion. Pets coming between people, it's just another thing, another red flag. If somebody doesn't like my dog, I probably don't like that person. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
So if it was my girlfriend or my wife not getting along with my pet, that would be a real problem. That'd be a real problem.
And you know what? Not all dating relationships have to work out. So if you're listening to the Pet Peeves podcast right now and you clicked on this video because this is something you've been thinking about, it's either I'm not getting along with my partner's pet, or it's your pet and your partner's not getting along with you. Maybe it's not working out. Sorry, but that's okay. Not every relationship works. It's about being honest with yourself. It's about asking yourself your priorities. You don't have to be overly dramatic about it, but sometimes things don't work out. Sometimes you're not meant to date someone. You can be friends with them, but sometimes, it just doesn't work out. And pets are important, and it's okay to prioritize them.
Yeah. And I was going to say, on the other side, though, if you're already in a very happy relationship and then you go get a pet and that pet starts stressing you guys out and it's hurting your relationship, then I understand you looking for another home for that pet. I have family members who had great lives, normal lives, and then they got a dog. When if it were me choosing for them, I would have told them, don't get that dog. You don't have a life to support getting that dog. But they got the dog anyway. And then they're hitting me up every week for advice. And sometimes my advice is start looking for a new home for that dog before it ruins your relationship, before it ruins your everyday, because you're already not able, you don't have the capacity to do what you need to do to make this work. And that's not your fault, but don't make it the dog's problem. Don't make it the cat's problem. Find a new home for that dog. Find a new home for that cat. Start looking now. Don't wait till you have to take them to the shelter. Don't wait till you're trying to pawn them off on somebody who else is going to have a bunch of problems with them. Do it the right way. Take your time. Find a good home for those pets. I don't think people should be getting divorced from a happy marriage over a dog or a cat that wasn't a part of the original relationship. I think that those dogs and cats, you could probably rehome if you put some effort into it.
Very important piece of nuance. Thank you for that clarification, because that's yes, of course. Yes. I mean, the order in which you do things, the order in which, did you get the pet first and then you start dating? Well, maybe that's a reflection on a red flag, like you said. But then if the opposite, yes, of course.
But there's always, it's case by case, because you never know. It's hard. I think people don't really know what it means to be a pet owner a lot of the times. Even if say, I grew up with dogs and I've had a dog. Now I want another dog. You've only had 3 dogs in your life. That's not a lot of animal experience compared to somebody like me who's had so much more animal experience than you. And I'm very hesitant before I get another pet or interact with somebody else's pet or try to pretend like I'm okay with someone else's pet that I met once or twice. That's not how it works. But people that have very limited pet experience, just their own pet, just their one dog they had, they think they know it all. And it's no, you don't know what you're talking about. There's such a variety of ways that this could go. And maybe sometimes, the dog is the one you should choose and not the husband or the wife. Those things happen too. And I think having a pet is like having a kid in a lot of ways, that people's true colors will come out, because that means, like we talked about, you have to be responsible for a long period of time, and people break and they show their true colors, or they just can't handle that amount of responsibility.
So some of the themes that we've talked about today, and some of the themes we've talked about a couple weeks ago, and just kind of on the Pet Peeves podcast these last 5 years, is just talking about themes of maintenance. How, what kind of pet was low maintenance? That was an earlier question in this podcast. You got to talk about, is your relationship too high maintenance? But any relationship takes some maintenance. Any relationship worth its salt takes some maintenance. Can pets teach responsibility? No, you need to be responsible before you take on a pet. Can relationships teach responsibility? No, you need to be responsible in order to make your relationship function. You know, I just think that there's a lot of these questions about pets, not to say that all of us are the same as a dog or a cat, but it's just about interaction with a living being. And at the end of the day, it's about maintenance, responsibility. It's about, you know, what's the animal that gives the best cuddles? Well, we talked a lot about animals that you got to earn it. I mean, it's like humans too. You've got to earn your healthy relationship with responsibility and with maintenance.
Priorities, maintenance,
you know,
consistency, all that adult stuff.
You're taking on multiple living beings in your home. You know, you gotta make sure you're in order. You got to make sure that your relationship with all parties is healthy, you know? So.
Yeah. But if you don't like my pets, you probably shouldn't come over.
But you know, it was important nuance though, too. You got to thank you for telling that story about your cousins, because I think that's illuminating. You know, absolutely. Like you had a perfectly happy marriage, then you got a dog. You shouldn't have gotten a dog, you know?
Yeah.
So, and it's, you might even love the dog, but if you don't have time for the dog, it's not your fault.
The dog's causing you a bunch of problems. Yeah.
These things happen. It's a bad equation, you know? Mm-hmm.